Hi, welcome everyone. I'm here. My name is Jessica Awotona. I'm with Cobb and Douglas Public Health, a Center for Environmental Health, specifically the Land Use Division, and I'm here today to talk about septic systems. So any questions you might have, you can go ahead and type them in or save them to the end, and I'll be happy to answer anything. Firstly, the phone number for my department is 770-435-7815. If you have any questions ever about septic systems, yours specifically or just in general, somebody is there to answer those and we'd be happy to help. First, what is a septic system? So most people are not that familiar with septic systems. I was not familiar at all with septic systems before I started working at the health department. I grew up on sewer, so I had no idea, even until I went to a training after I started working at the health department, where does the water go if it doesn't go to the sewer? So all the water, if you're on a septic system, all the water in your house goes to a tank that's in your yard, and then it goes out to a field line system from there, where the water is treated by the soil before it gets back down to the groundwater. We size a septic system by bedroom, which is sort of backwards with what people think. Usually people think, oh, you size it by bathroom, right? So we have 5 bathrooms or whatever, but it's sized by bedroom because that's how many people usually can live in the house. A septic system designed for 3 bedrooms won't be able to handle the water load of a 4-bedroom or plus house and could prematurely fail. So if you're building a house or adding on to a house, you should always be honest with us and your builder. What's the intention of the house? How many bedrooms are you planning to really have in that house? And if you already are on a septic system or you bought your house from somebody else, you can always check with my office to see how many bedrooms your house was designed to serve. And again, that phone number is 770-435-7815. The first part of your septic system is your septic tank. Generally, it's a 1,000 to 1,500 gallon tank for a 3 to 4 bedroom home. They do increase from there to 2,000 generally, but 15 or 1,000 are probably 95% what we see in the ground in Cobb County. Garbage disposals increase the size by 50%. So if you're a 3-bedroom house and you have a garbage disposal, you'll be required to have a 1,500 gallon tank. The tank is where everything comes in, all the solids, all the water come in from the house. Sometimes there'll be 2 compartments like this tank here, and sometimes it will be just one big open box, basically. They're typically like 4 feet by 5 feet by 8 feet in the ground, to give you some idea. And generally, they're about 10 feet off of your house. If you see a plumbing pipe coming from the top of your house, I think in this previous one is a better, your plumbing vent there at the top, sometimes that's an easy way to see where your septic tank can be. You can see that plumbing vent, and then down from there will be your stub out, and about 10 feet off will be your septic tank. They're typically 12 or so inches below ground, probably not much more than that generally, but sometimes if you have a deep stub out, they can be deeper than that into the ground. So they are sometimes hard to find. If we have the drawing, that's an easier way. And sometimes the pumper companies can help you find your septic tank if they're coming to pump your tank. They can use a probe rod or use a camera from inside the house to find your tank. But usually from your drawing, we can help you find it. So the water and all of the other stuff that comes from your house will come into the tank. In the first compartment, if you have a 2-compartment tank, is where all the solids will settle down. The scum will come up to the top of the water, and then the water will go through the little opening in the middle of the tank and be settled out even more in the second compartment, and then from there it will go out into your field. So like I said before, the septic tank slows down water coming from your house. It allows the solids to settle out of the water so the solids don't clog up your drain field and the soil pores. The water level in the tank should be about at the outlet level, so about the pipe coming out of the tank is the outlet. It should be right around the midpoint to bottom of that outlet all the time. If it's higher than that, if it's coming out, then it's failing, something is happening wrong. But after it's pumped out, the water should just go back and fill it right back up to there. So that doesn't mean anything is wrong with your tank. An important thing is to pump your septic tank. Pumping the septic tank removes the solids from the tank and allows more retention time for the water before it drains to the field line. The longer the water is able to sit in the tank, the cleaner it's going to be to go out to your field, the longer your septic field will last. Septic fields typically last 30 years or so, so the longer you can get out of that, the better for expenses and for your property. And how often should I pump my septic tank? Depends. Some guidance. A family of 4 should pump their septic tank every 3 to 5 years. That's about how long it takes all those solids to sort of build up to where the water is not sitting in the tank quite as long as it should. And it's not as clean as it should be when it goes out to the water. So some solids can get into your field lines, or just dirtier water clogging up your field lines faster. If you have a bigger family or you use a lot of water, you should pump your tank more often. The tank needs to be pumped when there's too many solids in the bottom, reducing that liquid capacity. And it, like I said, it leads to less treated water being sent to the drain field. If you have a 2-compartment tank, this is something important to, if somebody comes to pump your system, you should ask them if you have a 1-compartment or a 2-compartment tank. If you have a single compartment tank, they just need to dig up one end of it or the other, and they can get that entire tank at one time. If you have a 2-compartment tank, they do need to open up both sides of the tank to pump out each side. Most of the solids should be in that first compartment, but some of them do go over to that second compartment. So it is important that they pump out both of the sides, especially you don't want them pumping out just the second compartment, because that's not really doing anything. If you want, you can call us to ask if your septic contractor is certified, or you can look online at that. There's a long email address or website, but the shorter one underneath goes to the same webpage, georgiaeh.us. That's the State Department of Health Environmental Health website, and that has information for a septic system, along with other environmental health topics like food service, body art, hotels, swimming pools, everything that environmental health covers in the state. And their phone number is also 404-657-6534. They release a list of certified contractors. So if you have a question about whether somebody who's coming to work on your property is certified or not, you can always call us and we can look it up. You can call the state, or you can look on their state website. It's hard to navigate the state list because you have to know what county they're from, but we can help you out. So give us a call. And again, there's our office phone number. Does pumping require a permit? No, you don't need a permit to get your septic tank pumped. So regular pumping of the septic tank or replacing anything that's inside the tank, those inlet or outlet piping, they don't need to get a permit from us to do that work. It's just routine maintenance. But you do require a permit for a couple of things that are near the tank. So you need to get a permit when you're replacing the hard pipe between the house and the tank, the hard pipe between the tank and the field lines. If they need to replace your tank for any reason, sometimes the really old tanks were poured in place, and so they'll be crumbly or they'll kind of fall apart when they come to pump them out. So you can get your tank replaced, but they do need a permit for that. Or replacing a tank lid to add risers. If you don't want them to dig up your yard every time that you need your tank pumped out, you can have them add a lid that has a special opening with some risers that bring it up to ground level surface. And again, we'd be happy to answer any questions about whether the work somebody is doing on your property requires a permit. And there's our phone number, 770-435-7815. Okay, the lifespan of the drain system typically is about 30 years. with the newer products that they have, it's about 30 years. The old pipe and gravel systems that most people are familiar with do last a little longer, but nobody installs those anymore. So if you have a newer system, if your septic system was installed anywhere after like 1998 or more recent, it will probably be a chamber or easy flow type system. And I'll show you an example of that in a second. Additives, this is important. A lot of pumper companies will try to talk you into having additives, and you see them in the grocery stores or Home Depot or whatever. You do not need any chemical or biological additives in your tank. There's the two types, chemical and biological. Chemical additives are marketed to unclog drains, break up oil and grease. They also may contain acids, solvents, hydrogen peroxide, or strong caustic agents. And some of them are even prohibited to be sold in Georgia, but they can bring them in from other places. Biological additives are made from bacteria, yeast, or enzymes. They're marketed as a starter agent or as aids in routine maintenance. Your septic tank honestly gets everything it needs from your house. It gets the bacteria from your body. It gets enzymes and sugar from food. So your tank is its own self-sustaining system. Other than pumping it out every 3 to 5 years, you really do not need to do anything to that septic system to keep it going. Like I had said before, your tank will look full most of the time. The water level should be around the level of the outlet pipe. You probably won't ever notice how deep the water is unless somebody's there to open up your tank, because you shouldn't be in your septic tank. It is pretty nasty stuff in there. So yeah, unless somebody is there to pump it out, you really wouldn't see where the water level is, but it should be around the level of the outlet pipe all the time. And then we have a little animation to show how the water looks as it's going through the system. So you have the house and all the different ways that you would use water in your house: sinks, toilets, showers, washer, dishwasher, all that. And then all that water goes out to the septic tank through one stub out in your house. And then, sorry, we can run the water, and it shows how the water will come into the tank, fill up that first tank. It'll spill over to the second compartment of that same tank. And then as it fills up, it'll go out to the field a little bit at a time and go into your field lines. The animation is a little misleading because it shows a lot of solids in that second compartment, but it should be more of the solids are in that first compartment. If you have two compartments like this, most of the time that middle white T is not in the tank. It's just an opening between the two compartments. But some of them do have that, that white T built in. And then for your field lines, do I need a permit? You should not allow anyone to dig into your septic field lines without a permit from environmental health. And we can always help you out if somebody's at your house, or if you have a question, whether you need a permit or not, because they want to dig up this little section or that little section to see what's going on. We can come out and meet them and let them know whether that work needs a permit. They just need to call us. But a permit is required to do any field line work of installing or repairing. And if you're adding on to your house or putting in a swimming pool in the ground or remodeling, anything that requires a building permit does require an evaluation from our office before you go ahead and start that work. And then a lot of people think that the septic system is just that septic tank. Well, where does the water go after that? So after the septic tank, the field lines are where the water drains to be further cleaned by the soil and returned to the water table. There are different products used for field line installations. They all do the same thing: spread the water out underground so it will absorb into the soil, give it surface area to clean itself. Before mid to late 90s, it was all pipe and gravel. I'm sure if you have an older system, you're familiar with what that looks like. It's stones and then black corrugated pipe. But since then, they have really gotten rid of those systems, and now it's either a chamber or an easy flow system. Is probably 95% of what we see in the county. Chamber system, it looks like that picture, but also I brought some examples of these are miniature versions of what the chamber systems do. And they're either 4 or 5 foot sections and about 16 inches tall. And they just kind of snap together inside the trench. And so underneath will just be open, trying to get it in my camera, open space, an open void for the water. This will sit on a level soil layer, and the water will come in and will sort of absorb down through here. And there are tiny little louvers in the side, and the water will come out and absorb into the sidewall as well. So these sit in a 36-inch trench level, and they snap onto each other like little grooves. And then at the end will be a little end cap where they can attach the pipe here and down at the bottom, different places. So quite versatile, and they seem to work pretty well. And then the other system that's used, so those are 4 or 5 foot chambers connect in a 36-inch wide trench as far as the trench needs to go, and then hollow underneath to allow the water to absorb into the soil. And the other product that we see, we probably see the chamber about 80% of the time, and this about 20%. This is an easy flow system. It is exactly what it looks like, packing peanuts wrapped with a netting around a corrugated pipe. So these come in bundles of 3, and what will happen is 2 of these bundles will not have the middle pipe, and they will sit in a 30-inch wide trench, 2 of the bundles on the bottom, and this pipe with the corrugated pipe on the top. And so the water will come in through here and disperse through the packing peanuts and into the soil. These come in 10-foot wide bundles, like I said, in 3, and they are in a triangle sort of formation. And so that's the formation that they are in that little picture right there. So the 2 without the pipe, and then the 1 with the pipe on the top. So they essentially do the same thing. Contractors just prefer one or the other. Sometimes it's easier to get one or the other, especially right now. People are having supply issues, but they all are the same. They're sized the same. They're approved by the state. So whatever your contractor is more comfortable putting in is what they can put in. This easy flow system, actually, in the longer, it's more evident, but it bends really easily, so it can go around trees or different features in your yard where it takes a long time for this chamber system takes a long time to kind of turn corners. So if you need more space or more turning, the easy flow is better for that. And then different alternative systems, if you don't have very good soil, sometimes people will need to have an alternative system. The one on the left-hand side is a dripper system. So you'll have your septic tank, a treatment tank that treats the water. It adds oxygen to the water. It's called an aerobic treatment unit. And then it goes out to tiny piping that goes all through the yard, takes up a lot of space, but it's little like hoses essentially in the yard that drip out water a little bit at a time. And so that's helpful for if you have a really high water table. It keeps that separation from the water table, which is something that's important for us. And then this is a new type of system. It's not brand new, but it's newer in this area, and we've seen it a lot lately. It's an Elgin system. It's a bigger bundle than this. This is just the sort of small sample of what it looks like, but it's a passive treatment unit. So you'll have the trench will be excavated, and they'll add a certain type of sand. These bundles will sit on top of the sand, and then the PVC pipe corrugated will sit lay across those. And as the water goes through this, the geotextile fabric and plastic essentially, and it treats the water so that it's really clean by the time it gets to the soil. So this is helpful. It has a kind of a deep profile, so it's helpful if you have a really small area you're installing your septic system in, but something you might see. Field lines are installed in 3 different formations. A level field, all the field lines are level with each other. And serial field, each line will be level with itself, but then it will step down a hill to the next level trench, and then step down to the next level trench, and so on. They fill with water. It fails, all the water can't absorb into the next one, and then it's pushed over to the next trench is essentially how that works. Or a distribution box method, the water goes from the tank to a level distribution box. It's a smaller concrete box with one pipe coming in. It has many pipes as you need coming out, generally 3 or 4. Those pipes go to equal length trenches, and then so the idea with that is that the water is spread out more into each trench as it goes along. So field line failure. Field lines will fail. That's just what they do. That's how they work, or after time don't work. But they fail because the soil cannot absorb any more water. They're evident to you by wet spots in your yard, areas that don't dry after a rain. You can start to smell a specific sort of sewer smell in your yard, and the grass grows really green and really thick right around there. They can be caused by age. What happens eventually is a biomat layer of anaerobic bacteria can form on the bottom and the side of a field line trench and act as a swimming pool liner, essentially. So the water wants to find that path of least resistance, and after it runs out of space underground, will start to surface at the ground level. It can be caused by too much water. So if you have too much water in the home being used, or water from irrigation or downspouts going into your field lines or tank, then the soil just can't absorb it as quickly as it needs to, and the water will surface in the yard. So a 3-bedroom house should use less than 8,000 gallons of water a month for your septic system to work properly. 4-bedroom is about 11,000 gallons per month, and it just goes up a little bit by there, but you can always get your water bill to see how much of that water you're using, because if you're using too much, your system will fail prematurely, and a water leak, even small water leaks, can cause septic system failure. So that's something to be aware. If your water bill is getting really high and really high and really high, definitely see what those leaks, see if you have a leak to get rid of that and keep your septic system working longer. Some more field line information. Do not drive over your field lines. It can crush them, and that would make them fail faster. You do not need irrigation systems in the area where your field lines are underground. You have enough water coming into your septic system that the grass should grow there. It adds water to your system that your system wasn't designed for, and so it could fail prematurely. Do not plant trees or plants with heavy roots over your septic system or field lines. Septic tank or field lines. A common cause of failure is root intrusion, especially with it can get in with the piping in here, or it can get into your tank, or it can get into the little sections here into the corrugated area. A lot of roots can get in, so keep trees and heavily rooted plants away. Ensure that all your downspouts are piped away from your septic tank and field. This is a common problem that we see when we go out to do field line repair permits, is that the downspout will end right over where your septic tank is. So all that water is just sitting on your tank and getting into your tank and then going out to your field. So if you pipe them past your field or past your tank, that'll keep that extra water off. Do not build over your septic system. We require an evaluation from environmental health before a building permit can be obtained for any work done on a property served by septic. So like I said, a bedroom addition, any sort of decking or sunroom or any footprint change or a swimming pool, anything like that, you want to get an evaluation from us to make sure you're not disrupting your septic system. Building over your septic tank or field lines could cause premature failure of the septic system. It's taking away that oxygen that the system needs to treat the water. The soil needs that, and so it makes that biomat layer much quicker. And then don't grade or add fill in the septic system area or future replacement area. If you grade it, you could cut into your septic system or just make it where it's really close to the surface. That water will find its way to the surface faster. And when you add fill dirt, you take away the oxygen. This week has actually been Septic Smart Week at the EPA. This website is very, very useful for different septic information, anything you could want to know. They have a lot of really good animations and then flyers. So epa.gov/septic is a really good website I would recommend going to for any further septic information. And I got this from them, this sign. It's about what you should flush down the toilet or put down the sink. So toilet paper is really the only item that should be flushed down the toilet. Do not flush paper towels, feminine hygiene products, medications can disrupt the bacteria level in your septic tank and can just really affect that. Disposable diapers, wipes, even if they are labeled as flushable, should not go down your toilet. It ruins sewer systems as well as septic systems, so it's just a bad idea in general. Plastics, cigarette butts, dental floss, or any toxic substances can really also disrupt the bacteria that needs to work in the tank. And in the kitchen, so okay, down the drain would be dishwater, wash water from produce, cleaning products, as long as they're you're following the labeling on the bottle. Not okay down the drain would be food waste, chemicals, and grease and fat. Those all mess up the piping or the biological activity in that tank. And one thing that we're concerned with when we do permitting and evaluations and inspections are pollution. We don't want to pollute the water with our septic system. So we always have setbacks that we are looking for your field lines from different things like creeks or lakes or water springs or well water. And we also have setbacks underground. So we keep a 2-foot separation underground between the bottom of your septic trench and either the bedrock layer or the water layer. So that's kind of what this is showing, that there's a setback between the bottom, number 3 and number 4, that goes to the groundwater layer and also from a creek or a lake. Other resources that are helpful, like I said, the epa.gov/septic is a really good resource for any septic, just information of what the septic system is. They had some videos on there that I saw that were about how the septic systems work that were really good. And then the longer internet address, but the shorter one goes to the same place, like I had said before, the georgiaeh.us has the Georgia specific regulations for septic and the contractor list. And then if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And my email is up there. I'm always happy to look up drawings or answer any septic related questions and would be happy to speak with anybody. Okay, so when the field line system fails, you will notice the water in the yard or your toilet won't flush as easily, or sometimes it'll back up. You don't have to dig up all of the pipes. What they will do is your septic contractor will put a new system in. We try to keep it away from your old system so that you can keep that old system. It can dry out and you can use it again in the future, but sometimes they have to go through it. But you just leave that one in the ground and they installed a new system somewhere else on the property. If I have a tree over my septic tank, it want it removed, can I have this stump ground? That's a good question. I've never thought of that. The tree probably won't be right over the septic tank, so I don't see why that would be a problem, but I would have them be mindful of the fact that your septic tank is there. They wouldn't want to park their heavy equipment over your tank because they could crush the top of it, but I would think it would be okay to get the stump ground up. If the field or tank fail, how far away does the new system go? It depends. Sometimes the new system has to go in the same space as the old system just because of how small a property is. In that case, typically, if this is the old system, we would want the new system installed deeper into the ground so that this area that has the biomat on it is above it, and so that the new system would be in new and unused soil. But the field lines themselves have to be 7 feet center to center from each other, but the newer system and the older system, as long as they're not crossing each other, there's really no regulations on how far apart they have to be. We do like them to be in different areas, so that way sometimes they can install a diverter valve right after the tank. It's just this like PVC, it'll look like a clean out that you might see in your yard, and it has a valve in it. So all the new water will go to your new system, and then your old system can get the oxygen back to it, and because that is the common cause of failure, and it'll sort of regenerate itself. And then if that new system has problems in the future, you can just turn that valve and use that old system for 15 to 20 years, and then back and forth, and you never have your yard dug up again. That's ideal. That's what we really like to see. I have a 2-foot stub on top of the tank on the grass. I've heard about leveling the out pipe. How does that work? I'm not exactly sure, like, is it a part of a piping or is it a tree stub? Trees can affect pipe and gravel systems definitely because of the root intrusion. That is a huge reason why the old pipe and gravel systems fail. So definitely keep those trees away from the old pipe and gravel systems as well. Installing a fence near a field line system, does that require an evaluation? It doesn't require one as long as you don't require a building permit, but if they require a building permit for that, you will have to get an evaluation. Oh, it is piping. That's a confusing sort of question. If you have piping that's from your septic system, you can have a septic contractor come and change that. If it's like a clean out from your tank or a riser from your tank, you want a different height of it, they can definitely change that with a mini permit from us, that beginning permit that I had talked about. They can put a different level riser or a different clean out in. Typically a new septic system, if you don't need a new tank, most of the time, I should clarify, for a septic system repair, we're really only usually talking about field line system repairs. The tank itself can last a really, really long time. So most of the time people don't have to replace the tank, it's just the field line. Before this year, right now it's kind of tricky with supply issues and cost issues of the materials, but a 3 to 4 bedroom system can cost from $4,000 to $6,000 generally if there's no special treatment that's needed. The contractors set their own price and we have nothing to do with it. So what we recommend, your permit, when you get it from us, belongs to, and even if the contractor gets it from us, the permit belongs to the house and the homeowner. So I would really recommend, if you get the permit or if they get the permit anyway, get 4 or 5 or as many as you can estimates They all have to do the same work. We inspect it before we come to your house when you get your permit to write your permit out, and also we inspect the work that they do before they cover it up. So everybody has to do the same thing, and they can vary widely in their prices that they charge. So we always recommend getting as many estimates as you can to kind of see who's more in the ballpark. Okay. Fewer people in the household than the tank is built for, any considerations that should be taken into account? No, you just don't have to pump your tank as often. So if you have a 5-bedroom system and you are just 2 people living in the house or 1 person, you might not need to pump your tank until 10 years. It's just about the volume of solids in there. So if you're not putting a lot of solids in the tank, you can go longer. If you have a lot of people, I would pump it sooner, but pumping sooner doesn't really do anything if you're not needing it. And I'm always happy to talk for hours and hours about septic. So if you want me to look up your drawing, I can look it up and then give you a call or come out to your property and speak with you about whatever is going on and help answer any questions you have. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and end this session. Thank you for Cobb Water for having me on to explain more about septic systems. I know most people aren't familiar with them. A lot of people live in a house and they don't even know they're on septic. So it's always nice to get a little information out there to the public. Again, if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. My direct phone number is 770-438-5102, and my email address is on that slide as well. Email is probably the easier way to get a hold of me. Sometimes I don't check my voicemail at my desk all the time. So email, that's faster. And then if you have any other questions for us, always give us a call, but thank you for having me.